Rome, 1559. The Vatican is burning books, not in secret, in public, Piazza Navona, hundreds of people watching. The Inquisition has created a list. The index of forbidden books, books that will corrupt your soul, books that will damn you to hell. And at the top of that list, above the heretics, above the pornographers, above everyone, is one name: Niccolo Machiavelli. His book, The Prince, is thrown into the flames. The crowd cheers. The church has declared him the most dangerous writer in human history, not because he advocated violence. Kings did that, not because he justified cruelty. The church did that during the Crusades, because he did something worse. He told the truth about how power actually works, and the people in power couldn't let that information spread. So they burned his book. They called him Satan's disciple. They said reading his words would poison your mind. And for 500 years, that label stuck. But here's the thing about burning books. It doesn't destroy ideas. It just proves they're powerful. Someone decided a long time ago that you shouldn't know how the world actually works. They told you that good people win. That honesty is rewarded. That if you work hard and play fair, the universe will notice. And while you believed that, someone else was reading a different book. A book written by a man who had his shoulders dislocated 6 times in a torture chamber because he refused to lie. A man who watched his city burn because leaders were too moral to fight dirty. A man who died hated, banned, and condemned by the church. His name was Niccolo Machiavelli, and for 500 years people have called him evil. They've called him the devil's teacher, the prophet of tyranny, the man who gave dictators their handbook. But here's what they don't tell you. Machiavelli didn't invent cruelty. He just refused to pretend it didn't exist. And that refusal, that one act of intellectual honesty, made him the most dangerous writer in human history. Because once you understand what he actually said, once you see past the myth and read the words of a man who lost everything, you realize something terrifying. He wasn't teaching people how to be evil. He was teaching them how to survive evil. And the people who call him the devil are the same people who benefit from your ignorance. So let me ask you something. Would you rather live in a beautiful lie or an ugly truth? Because Machiavelli made his choice in 1513, alone on a farm, covered in chicken filth, writing by candlelight. And what he wrote changed the world. This is the story they don't want you to know. The story of how a broken man became humanity's most brutal teacher. And by the end of this, you'll understand why some people think he saved us, while others think he damned us. Florence, 1512. Machiavelli is hanging by his wrists. His hands are tied behind his back. A rope loops through the binding and runs up to a pulley on the ceiling. They hoist him up. His full body weight drops onto his shoulders. The joints dislocate. He screams. They drop him, pull him up again. This is called the strappado. The Medici family has just violently retaken Florence after 18 years of Republican government. Machiavelli had served that republic. He'd been the secretary of the Second Chancery. He'd negotiated with kings. He'd commanded militias. Now he's a suspected conspirator. 6 times they drop him. 6 times his shoulders explode with pain. He doesn't confess because there's nothing to confess. He wasn't part of any plot. He was just on the wrong side of history. They release him. Broken, exiled, banned from entering Florence, the only city he ever loved. He's 43 years old and his life is over. He retreats to a tiny farm in Sant'Andrea, 7 miles from Florence. Might as well be 7,000. And this is where the myth dies. Because the man who wrote The Prince wasn't some cold, calculating monster. He was a humiliated bureaucrat feeding chickens. Let me read you something. December 1513. Machiavelli writes a letter to his friend Francesco Vettori. He describes his daily routine. He wakes up before dawn, checks on his workers cutting wood. Spends his morning walking his property, arguing with peasants over timber. Then he goes to the inn by the road. He gambles with the locals. pennies. He plays cards with a butcher, a miller, two bakers. He writes, "We quarrel over farthings," and can be heard shouting from San Cassiano. He's covered in mud. His clothes are rags. This is the great Machiavelli, playing cards for pennies, screaming over pocket change. But then, at night, he does something different. He goes home. He strips off his filthy clothes at the door. He washes. And then he puts on what he calls his regal and courtly robes. These aren't real robes. They're whatever decent clothes he has left from his government days. And he enters his study. He writes, "I enter the ancient courts of ancient men, where, received by them with affection, I feed on that food which only is mine and which I was born for." He reads Livy, Plutarch, Tacitus. He studies the Romans, the Greeks, the rise and fall of republics. And he writes, not for publication, not for fame. He's writing a job application, The Prince, a book dedicated to Lorenzo de' Medici, the new ruler of Florence. Machiavelli is begging for his job back. He's saying, look what I know, look what I can teach you, please. Let me back in. And this context changes everything, because The Prince isn't the confident manifesto of a master strategist. It's the desperate handbook of a man who learned the rules too late. So what did he learn? What truth did he see that got him branded as the devil's teacher? Here it is. Virtue doesn't protect you. Goodness doesn't save you. Morality is not a strategy. Machiavelli had watched Florence's leaders make every right decision and lose everything. He'd watched them trust treaties that were broken. He'd watched them show mercy to enemies who returned with armies. He'd watched them pray while their city was sacked. And he realized something that shattered his entire worldview. The universe doesn't care about your principles. Power doesn't reward goodness. It rewards effectiveness. And the people who win aren't the most moral. They're the most willing to do what needs to be done. Let me show you what I mean. 1502. Machiavelli is sent as an envoy to observe Cesare Borgia. Borgia is the son of Pope Alexander VI. He's brutal, cunning, absolutely ruthless. He's conquering the Romagna region, and Machiavelli is there to report back to Florence. At one point, Borgia's commanders betray him. They conspire against him, thinking they can overthrow him. Borgia finds out. Does he arrest them? Put them on trial? No. He invites them to a peace negotiation in the town of Senigallia. They come. They think they've won concessions. Borgia has them strangled, all of them, that same night. And Machiavelli watches this and realizes, this is how power actually works. Borgia didn't hesitate. He didn't forgive. He didn't give them a second chance to kill him. He crushed them completely, and his territory stabilized. The violence ended. One night of brutality prevented years of civil war. Machiavelli writes about this in The Prince. He doesn't say it's good. He says it's effective. And that distinction is what people can't handle. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Machiavelli isn't telling you to be cruel. He's telling you that cruelty already exists, and pretending it doesn't puts you at a fatal disadvantage. Think about it. You're playing a game where half the players are cheating. They're lying, manipulating, breaking rules. And you're sitting there saying, I'm going to play fair because that's the right thing to do. Noble, admirable, stupid. Because while you're taking the high road, they're taking everything you have. Your job, your reputation, your power. And when you lose, when you're exiled to your own metaphorical farm, you'll finally understand what Machiavelli understood. The game doesn't stop because you refuse to play. It just means you lose. But here's where it gets interesting. Machiavelli wasn't advocating for tyranny. He hated tyrants. He was a Republican. He believed in representative government, in citizen militias, in civic virtue. The Prince was written for Lorenzo de' Medici, yes, but his other book, Discourses on Livy, was written for Republicans. And in that book, he says something that most people never hear. Republics are fragile. They decay. Citizens become complacent. Leaders become corrupt. And unless you actively fight that decay, unless you're willing to use violence to bring the state back to its beginnings, the Republic dies. He writes that Rome survived for centuries because it periodically purged itself. Public executions, brutal displays of state power, not because Romans were evil, but because fear is the glue that holds societies together when virtue fails. And this is the part that makes people call him the devil's teacher. Because he's saying that sometimes to save the Republic, you have to do monstrous things. You have to break your own rules. You have to become the monster you're fighting. Not because you want to, but because if you don't, someone else will. And they won't use that power to protect the Republic. They'll use it to destroy it. So let me ask you again, is Machiavelli the devil's teacher, or is he humanity's savior? Because here's the choice he's forcing you to make. Option 1, believe in the beautiful lie. Believe that goodness wins, that virtue is its own reward, that if you just keep doing the right thing, eventually the universe will notice, and watch as people who don't believe that take everything from you. Option 2, accept the ugly truth. Understand that power is amoral. That the world is a game played by people who know the rules, and learn those rules so you can protect yourself, not to become a tyrant, but to avoid becoming a victim. Here's what most people miss about Machiavelli. He wasn't writing for sociopaths. He was writing for the rest of us, the people who keep losing because we think fairness matters, the people who get backstabbed at work and wonder why, the people who trust the wrong person and lose everything. Machiavelli is saying, wake up. The world is full of Cesare Borgias, and if you don't learn to recognize them, if you don't learn to defend yourself, you will be destroyed. Not because you're weak, but because you're naive. And in a world where power is the only currency that matters, naivety is a death sentence. But there's another layer here, one that makes Machiavelli even more dangerous. He wasn't just describing power, he was democratizing it. Before the prince, political strategy was secret knowledge. Kings and popes and generals passed it down privately. The common people weren't supposed to know how the game worked. Machiavelli ripped that curtain down. He said, here are the rules. Here's how they manipulate you. Here's how they stay in power. And the people in power lost their minds. The Catholic Church banned the prince. They put it on the index of forbidden books. Why? Because knowledge is power. And Machiavelli just handed that knowledge to anyone who could read. He made the invisible visible. He exposed the operating system. And that made him more dangerous than any king, because you can kill a king, but you can't kill an idea. Let's bring this forward. 500 years later, you're living in a world Machiavelli would recognize instantly. Your boss takes credit for your work. Machiavellian. Politicians lie with a smile. Machiavellian. Corporations destroy competitors through legal warfare. Machiavellian. Your friend manipulates you with guilt. Machiavellian. It's everywhere. The only question is whether you see it, and if you see it, whether you know how to respond. Because here's the trap. If you read Machiavelli and think, I'm going to use this to manipulate people, you've misunderstood him. You've become the tyrant he warned about. But if you read Machiavelli and think, I'm going to use this to protect myself from manipulation, you've understood him perfectly. You've become the informed citizen he was actually writing for. So let me tell you what happened to Machiavelli. He never got his job back. Lorenzo de' Medici never read The Prince, or if he did, he didn't care. Machiavelli died in 1527, still in exile, still hoping for a pardon. The Prince wasn't published until after his death, and when it was, it destroyed his reputation. People called him evil, satanic, the devil's teacher. The word Machiavellian became synonymous with cruelty. And for 500 years, that's been the story. But here's what I think. I think Machiavelli was humanity's savior, not because he made us better, but because he made us honest. He forced us to look at power without flinching. He refused to let us hide behind comforting lies. And yes, that truth is ugly. Yes, it's brutal, but it's real. And in a world where predators exist, where manipulation is constant, where power is always being contested, ignorance isn't virtue. It's suicide. Machiavelli gave you a choice. You can live in the fantasy, or you can live in reality. You can be the person who trusts everyone and loses everything. Or you can be the person who understands the game and protects what matters. You can condemn him as the devil's teacher, or you can thank him for ripping the blindfold off. Because the people who hate Machiavelli the most are the people who benefit from your ignorance. The bosses who exploit you, the politicians who lie to you, the manipulators who gaslight you. They want you to believe that power is mysterious, that it's wrong to think strategically, that studying influence is immoral. Because as long as you believe that, they can keep doing what they're doing, and you'll never see it coming. So here's what you do with this. You stop apologizing for being strategic. You stop feeling guilty for protecting yourself. You stop pretending that good intentions are enough. You learn the rules, not to become a monster, but to stop being prey. You read people. You watch for patterns. You understand incentives. You know when someone is lying not because you're paranoid, but because you're informed. You recognize manipulation not because you're cynical, but because you're educated. And when power is being used against you, you don't just stand there hoping for fairness. You respond, strategically, effectively, without apology. Because Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to create tyrants. He wrote it to create survivors. And that's the answer to the question. Devil's teacher or humanity's savior depends on who's reading. If you're a tyrant, Machiavelli gives you a playbook for domination. If you're a citizen, he gives you a survival manual. The knowledge is neutral. The intention is everything. And the fact that you're still here, the fact that you've listened this far, tells me which one you are. You're not looking for shortcuts to power. You're looking for protection from people who already have it. You're not trying to manipulate. You're trying to stop being manipulated. And that's exactly why Machiavelli wrote what he wrote. For you, the person stuck on the farm, the person exiled from the game, the person who finally realized that the rules you were taught don't match the world you're living in. So take the knowledge, use it wisely. Understand that power is real, that it doesn't disappear because you ignore it, that the people around you are playing a game whether you admit it or not. And when someone calls you Machiavellian for protecting yourself, for thinking strategically, for refusing to be naive, you smile. Because they just told you they haven't read the book. They're still living in the fantasy, and you're living in reality. That's the gift Machiavelli gave us. Not cruelty, clarity, not evil, truth. And if that makes him the devil's teacher, then maybe the devil is just the name we give to anyone who refuses to let us stay asleep. Maybe humanity's savior isn't the person who makes us feel good. Maybe it's the person who makes us see clearly. Even when the truth is ugly, especially when the truth is ugly, because that's when we need it most.